Ask the Podcast Coach for October 29th, 2025.
Let's get ready to podcast.
There it is. It's that music that means it is Saturday morning. It is time for Ask the Podcast Coach, where you get your podcast questions answered live. I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com, and joining me right over there is the one and only Jim Collison from theaverageguy.tv. Jim, how's it going, buddy?
Greetings, Dave. Happy Saturday morning to you. Happy Thanksgiving weekend. What day is it? Like, I think we've all you kind of lose track of days. I this morning woke up and was like, is it what day? Where am I? What day?
Oh,
so,
I woke up.
Glad you made it. Glad everybody else made it too.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes stuff. Dave didn't have power till about 9:30, something like that. And they told me it was going to be noon, so I'd already said to Jim, I don't think we're going to have a show today, but it was a Christmas miracle. And we are here, and I'm very happy because it was 58 degrees in the living room. And for my friends across the pond, that means it was cold. Holy cow, because it's like 29 degrees outside here in Ohio.
How long does the furnace have to run?
It's still running. It's according to my Nest. Yeah, I was like, well, we're going to have a bit of a hum in the background today. According to my Nest, it will, because I keep my house, especially on the weekends when I'm here and I'm moving around, at 70. And it said it will be 70 in 2 hours. And I was like, okay. So, but, there is a way, you can heat up yourself. And that, of course, is with a good old coffee pour from our good friend Mark over at podcastbranding.co. If you want to look good, if you want to make an amazing first impression, and I got to tell you, I was on a call with Mark, a couple weeks ago. We were doing one of our things that the awesome supporters get to do, and he was helping somebody with their artwork, and it's just so obvious sometimes that you need someone with that graphic eye, because the person had made their own artwork, and it wasn't bad, and Mark just said, hey, you could make this a little bigger. You can move this down here. And at the time I was like, well, that's not really that much different. And then later he actually worked with this woman, made the artwork, and it was absolutely just like, it's just the little thing. It's the icing on top. It's like nobody likes, what are those things with the icing on top with nobody likes a cupcake with no icing, right? That's just a bland, muffin. And so the icing is what Mark brings, and he does it in a great way. I'm not done. That's what I see. I go off script. But no, he literally helped this woman, and the difference was like, not night and day difference, but I was like, see, that's what a graphic artist person does. He has that look, and you're like, oh, just move this here and move, and you're like, oh, that makes so much more sense. So check out Mark over at podcastbranding.co. Meanwhile,
big thanks to our good friend Dan Lefebvre over there, based on a true story podcast.com. This week, 378 Nuremberg, the 2025 film, the brand new film, 2025 Nuremberg. If you want to know what is that all about? How close is it? Is it real? Is it not? You can check that out today. Dan always does a bang up job. Speaking of that, check it out today, based on a true story podcast.com. Dan, thanks for your sponsorship. And we should mention, Stephanie Graham said it is Small Business Saturday. So make sure with Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, I think is Sunday's a charity thing. Is that a charity? And then Monday is
I'm sure we'll just keep tacking on things. It's like,
does Cyber Monday even matter? Like,
no.
Remember when Cyber Monday was a thing, and now isn't it all cyber for the most part, right?
It's kind of like
wiped out Black Friday, like from a physical going into the stores.
Yeah.
We used to line up, right? All those crazy doorbusters.
I thought about it Thursday night when I was married and I lived in Cleveland. It was a thing that they did. They would go out like late. Instead of going home, you would go to Best Buy or you would go to Walmart. And I'd never ever thought of that. And it was absolutely bananas. And I was like, yeah, this is the fun, standing in line. I'm like, really? I'm like,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was cold and it was freezing. And yeah, it is, because now once Halloween hits, they're busting out the Christmas stuff with the Halloween stuff.
For sure.
And
the Black Friday name they use it for everything, like Black Friday in July. And you're like, that's not what it means.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't mean sale. It does now. It means sale, right? We're running a sale, whatever kind of thing. Black Friday prices. everybody's got that so associated with it. Stephanie corrects me. Thank you, Stephanie. It is Giving Tuesday. That is the charity. I knew there was a charity thing associated with it. So make sure if you can, you're buying local. If you can, if that's important to keep our small businesses running. So good reminder there to do that today.
Yeah, they did a thing in downtown Akron where they made like a scavenger hunt, and you can enter to win, a $500 giveaway. But the problem is, aside from a couple of restaurants, there's not like one's like an I forget what it is. One is really cool. I just don't think, because I know Stephanie's listening, but it's an art gallery, and I'm like, how often do you buy art for your house? I'm like, that's a tough gig. Well, Stephanie can tell you, being an artist is a tough gig.
Yeah.
But Dan says Black Friday is now Black November. Yeah, that's true. That's kind of it.
Didn't you make a song called Black Friday? I think it was. I think that was YouTube. YouTube.
Craig says, I'm voting for Stay in Bed Monday. Yeah, that was my thought. When I really thought we weren't going to do a show, I was like, I think I'm going to crawl under the covers. I'm like, it's starting to get cold in here.
It's snowing out here. We've got 2 or 3 inches of snow already. They're expecting 2 or 3 more. So right after the show, I get to put on my snow gear and go out and dig the snowblower out of the shed, which I should have gotten out yesterday. It's not like I didn't know this was coming, right? I should have gotten out of the shed.
Wait, snow?
Yeah.
In Nebraska? Wait.
I know. I didn't see it coming. We've only been talking about this. They started predicting a snowstorm Monday of last week.
Yeah.
Like it was like, big snow on the weekend. So it's not like I didn't have all week to get. It's like, when you're podcasting and you've got all week to put your show notes together.
Oh yeah.
What you're going to do and who you're going to interview and all those other kinds of things. And then 10 minutes before the show, you're frantically coming up with questions or trying to do things. Don't do that, friends. Be prepared.
Yeah, that was my thought. Anytime I have a power outage or something, I always think of Mark and Krista Lawley over at practicalprepping.info, and I'm like, I'm sure, because I know. What did you pay for your power thingy when it goes out? Your generator.
The generator. Oh, it's about. Let's just say it's $1,000. Yeah, $899. I think it was $799 on sale, so maybe $800 is what I paid. Then I paid another couple $100 to wire it into the house, and I did that myself. A little bit more if you pay an electrician to do that, but you can, Dave. Something to think about when we think about power outages. Since we're talking about that now, you don't have to go full whole house power to start with. I didn't. Right, I bought a generator, and then the very first power outage, I just ran electrical cables, long extension cords into the house to run the fridge and fridges, right? That's, for me, that's the most important thing, fridges. Then I figured out, okay, what do I need to run in here to run my computer equipment? So that was kind of the minimum. And then I wired it in so I wired plugs into the house as the next step so that I could plug into an outlet. And then there were a few outlets on the house. What that kept me from doing is having to run extension cords through the garage and underneath the doors. How awkward that is to get an extension cord under the door. Yeah. Sometimes, especially the thick ones. Then I did the big, so that's a 30 amp. Then I did a big 50 amp solution where that's coming in on the other side of the house, wired in, goes to the panel. It's got to cut off so I don't fry the guy on the electric line by sending my electricity back down the line. So you don't have to do it. I would recommend, I think especially with AI and all the data centers going in and the amount of power that's being drawn by some of these, I think the grid's going to get a little unstable over the next couple of years. I'd recommend having something, a big battery or a generator of some kind, just for some backup. Because I don't know about you, nothing makes me more mad than when $6,000, because that's what a steak costs these days, like $6,000, right, of food spoils because I didn't have a battery, right, or I didn't have a generator. They're not hard. Listen, the battery backup stuff has gotten really, really good. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's gotten really, really good.
Well, I was surprised. It kept my computers on for like probably 20 minutes. And then finally I just was like, all right, I'm going to go in and turn these off because eventually it's going to run out of stuff. But, I saw this thing on Reddit and I read down about a half a page and went, wait a minute, we need to look at this on the show, because this person says, I almost always hate live episodes. And I was like, oh, we should read this live. And so one person says, I mostly agree. A lot of hosts play to the audience too much. Well, that's the whole point of a live show, isn't it? I mean, they try too hard to be funny. I have heard that in even like not live shows, but it works for some podcasts. The audience is full of mega fans. Yes, duh. Who laugh and react positively to everything that the hosts say. So the host gets tempted to play up to with loads of crap jokes and diversions that go down great live, but they sound like crap on a podcast. One person says, I hate the audience sounds. They're always an obnoxious person laughing too loudly or someone yelling. I don't know. I'm like, I thought we might see something here that we do. This is always the problem. In an unusual podcast, they're talking to you. You're there with them, just sharing a conversation. In a live show, they're playing to the audience. Well, yeah, it's a live show. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I listen to No Agenda. That's a live show. And they occasionally go to the audience. But, I mean, there are times with this show that if we didn't have an audience, there would be no topic. There are times when I'm like, you got anything, Jim? Nope. You got anything? Nope. I'm like, well, we're going to go to the chat room and see what they want to talk about. The sound quality always sucks, and it's all too performative for my taste. I wonder if this is groupthink. Like, there's not one person in here saying, I don't mind a live show. I enjoy the authenticity of an intimate discussion between a few people. I'm not a big fan of there being multiple guests as well. I'm okay with multiple hosts, but multiple guests seems like too much. Well, I would say that's a little different. I don't know if I've heard a show with multiple guests. Interesting. All right. Well, meanwhile, back at our other, I saw that and I was like,
with so many options, Dave. Like, should people? Uncle Mar says this in chat, kind of. With so many options, can't you just change the channel? Like,
right.
I don't know if complaining publicly is the right. You correct in private and you
you praise in public and
you praise in public. There we go.
And then whatever the other thing is.
Correct. Yeah. In private. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to, and we're seeing trees if you don't know, but
okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Are we coming back? There we go. I think like there's no need for a public, like, okay, so you don't like that. That's your preference. Like, and I guess you're just looking for other people to agree or disagree. And it's not a bad conversation. Hey, kind of, I might phrase it something like, what do you like in a live show? Like, what kinds of things do you like? Let's be positive about it from that standpoint. But I don't know if jumping on social and saying, this or that about people, there's plenty of other options. There's so many options of things you can do and can't do. So I don't know. People complaining, it's part of the what did we do? How did we complain before? Did we write letters? We wrote letters to the editor.
A sternly worded letter. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. It's just, you kind of go, friends. I see this all the time, friends. Just like, do something different,
Yeah. Dan says, if I don't like a song, I listen to another one. If I don't like a movie, I watch another one. Complaining about it
forces you to listen to Taylor Swift. You don't have to do it.
Right.
Like, you turn the channel, walk away, do something different.
That's crazy. So I how I occasionally say I think people are overthinking things.
Yeah.
So Jim, let's say let's take your Facebook group. If you wanted to know, like, if you wanted to put them into some sort of content or contact management system, how would you do that? I mean,
that's a great question. I kind of have that problem now, actually, at work, because
because when I saw this question, I was like, okay, it says, how do you actually turn podcast listeners into your people, and not just random numbers? So the question is, my podcast is slowly growing, which is exciting, but I have zero system to manage listeners. Episodes are on Spotify and Apple. Extra content is on Instagram, resources in Google Docs, mailing list on Substack, which is barely used. There's no actual home for the show. I don't even really want a full website. I just want one simple place listeners can go to catch up. That's called your website. Subscribe, maybe support the show and feel connected. How often are people doing this without turning it into a big project? So for me, it sounds like I'm just going to talk about Podpage. That's like a given to me. Have a website. That is the home of everything you do, and then your social kind of floats around your main hub. But to me, like when they're like, well, how do I get them into what do they say? Something where there's no actual home for the show, but it sounded like they wanted to contact these people. And as I read this a second time, maybe they're not. I have zero system to manage listeners. So for me, and this is the actual name of the program, it's not a joke, Less Annoying CRM. It's $15 a month. And I was looking for something to just take notes. So when somebody joins the School of Podcasting and they say, oh, I'm trying to do this and I want to grow my book or whatever, I can go into their thing and like, okay, goal of podcast is to get more book sales or whatever, or, so-and-so, and also I can go in and say, follow up with Stephanie in 6 weeks and see what's going on or whatever. And so to me, I was just kind of like, well, if you want to build some sort of contact system, you will need to ask people for their contact info. And it was like, to me, it seemed kind of, duh. But I get that. The other one is where he says mailing lists on Substack, and I'm barely using it. If you want to contact people, it's like is your best friend that person that you haven't emailed in 5 years? Probably not. You probably talk to them more than once a decade, so you got to reach out and keep in touch with people. But what do you think when you see this kind of question?
Yeah, there's never one way. This is
right.
I think the mistake in thinking is like, no, I just want a simple way to do great things. And you're like, friends, life doesn't work that way. Everything we do is fairly complicated. And if you want to reach listeners where they're at, you have to have multiple modes for them to connect. It's not good enough just to have a Facebook group. You probably should have a LinkedIn one as well, because there's some people who don't want to be on Facebook. You should probably have a newsletter. That's going to be a separate, avenue for them to get in touch or to chat with you. That may be the way your most engaged folks will probably be signed up on a newsletter. You might need to create multiple feeds or different ways for folks to get, you wouldn't just put it on Spotify, right? You'd put it on Spotify and Apple and try and get it everywhere where it needs to be. So I'm not a fan of the easy way, because the easy way is the limiting way for your listeners. Now,
Right.
The hard part is you put all those, so you create all these ways for people to get in touch with you. You post those on your website, and then somebody who's a completionist who has to be a part of everything says, there's too many things. I want to be a part of everything, and there's too many things to be a part of, right? That you run that risk too, and that's okay. There's very few who are actually that way. But I think, Dave, you don't make it easy for yourself. You make it easy for the listener. You go where they're at. You do what they want you to do. You learn how to manage all the systems, right? And you don't have to, right? You can go to one. I just think it's severely limiting for the way your audience wants to interact with you. And it's just one of those things. You got to do the heavy lifting on this. I just want to record. Well, okay, then just record. Yeah, that's fine, right? But there's a lot more work behind it than that. If you want it, you can't just do the simple thing and then wonder why nobody's listening. Nobody's coming to my Facebook group. Yeah, because your audience isn't on Facebook or whatever, right? Fill in the blank.
Yeah, I did an episode of Your Podcast Consultant, and somebody had said, hey, my show used to grow faster, but we were doing weekly. And so we quit for a year. Then they came back and they went every other week because they figured out that's what we can do. But they were kind of bummed because they had lost 50% of their audience. And I'm like, you quit for a year. Like, that's like, walk away with the lesson here that, hey, maybe not quit for a year next time, but here's Dan says, what do you want to manage your listeners for? What is the goal of that? Trying to sell to people is a very different goal than trying to get people to listen to another episode of the podcast. Yeah. And so in the end, you just have, if you're trying to, because I used to say names, not numbers, if you want to get to know your audience, well, then get to know your audience. And if they email you, email them back. If they comment back. Just you have to kind of go, like you said, go to where they are and start to reach out to those folks. And, over time that will build up. But when I first thought, I thought, well, if you want to contact people, I'm pretty sure you're going to need their contact information. That would be, my first thought.
Doing a newsletter is a great way without going full CRM. Most
Right.
newsletter, providers have some way of name and contact information, right? And I think even some of them have a way they can get it via text. They can get some of those via text if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation. I wouldn't go full CRM. That's a lot more than most people need. And again, your mileage may vary.
Right.
But for most people, newsletter functionality, and then tweak that newsletter to be some kind of way. Hey, sign up for this. I send out a weekly update of that. Just make sure if you say you're going to do it, you actually do it. I've made that mistake so many times. Like, I'm starting a new newsletter. Yeah. It never gets started. I say I'm going to start it, and then I don't. And I really should.
My mistake was that I went to play with Substack, and I already had my ConvertKit, which I will always call ConvertKit, even though it's Kit. And Substack started to take off, and I just ended up putting the same newsletter out to the Convert people, the Kit people, that I did to Substack. Well, some people sign up for both, and they're like, hey, I keep getting this twice. And I'm like, And so what I have to figure out, and this is kind of one of those, in 2026 I will do this, because I'm like, what is the difference between Substack and ConvertKit? And I looked into it because really Substack is where fired reporters go to make money. They do deep dives, and I'm not talking AI here, but they do a deep dive, and they want to, in a certain they want to report, they want to pontificate. Right here it's and I keep wanting to say in depth or deep dive, but they've done some research, and here it is, and it is a place to report. It's much more of a place to go there. They're making it into kind of a social media site. Stephanie's mentioning that. Yes, she says, is less annoying CRM pretty? Not the prettiest thing I've seen, not the ugliest thing I've seen. I will show you that in just a second. Where ConvertKit and MailerLite and Aweber and Beehive and all these other places, like with ConvertKit, you'll hear about a welcome sequence. And that's when somebody signs up, you can say, look, if somebody signed up for this lead magnet, which is another thing Substack doesn't really do, you can say, here, send them the PDF and then add them to my welcome sequence. So on today, they're going to get this thing, and then they're going to get another one, and then probably about the 7th email, it's going to say, hey, why don't you buy my stuff? And so it's much more of a marketing thing, where Substack is more, I just want to keep in touch with my audience. And that doesn't mean you can't sell with Substack. I've had, at the end of mine, I always have, hey, if you need help with your podcast, click here, use the coupon code newsletter, yada, yada, yada. So that is the difference between the two. But just because Stephanie asked, and if you're listening to this, you can always come out and look. Or I think they have a preview. So I'm trying to do this. It's always fun. If we go back to screen, this is this is my current CRM. So over here I've got, because you can do all the CRM-y stuff where you make a funnel and they're in this and that. I just have contacts, and then except I'm showing people's email addresses. Oops. So I'll just stick here on this page. And like, for instance, Bill Marshall, thank you, Bill Marshall, became a member of the School of Podcasting. So I can see here, and I put in here that his LinkedIn profile is here, so it's not super ugly, but it's not like Apple pretty, if that makes sense. I've seen worse. I used a thing called Dex. That was one that I signed up for a year and won't. And so that's it's just one of those things. For me, I like it. The other thing I love about less annoying CRM And that is the fact that I can email, like I have a contact in my Google contacts. And when I email, let's say I'm emailing Stephanie, I could say, hey, Stephanie, hope all is well. Here's the thing you talked about, whatever, whatever. And then I can blind carbon copy. That's the BCC field, because if you carbon copy people, they want to scratch your eyes out. And it will automatically add the email I sent to Stephanie's record in my Less Annoying CRM. So this, and what I did, because it's just this special email address. And so I put it in my Google contacts, first name Les, last name Annoying. And so when I email any student from the School of Podcasting, I blind carbon copy Less Annoying, and it automatically puts our conversation in that. So that's another thing I like it for. But before I move on, I do have to say thank you, because yes, we got a super chat. Holy cow. Thank you, Mr. Craig, from AI Goes to College, and also livewelandflourish.com. But Craig is a professor down there in Louisiana, and he does AI Goes to College. And you don't have to be a college professor to get something out of that show. So it's so CRMs are fun, and you can make them as easy as the other thing. I was so happy because I saw where Bill had signed up yesterday, and I'm kind of moving from Zapier, because Zapier can get expensive if you do a lot of stuff, to Pabbly. And I'm kind of worried because I bought a lifetime deal to Pabbly, and I'm like, well, I just got burned by a lifetime deal. And Pabbly connects to a lot of stuff that I use, and it's the same thing. If this happens, then do this. So when somebody joins the School of Podcasting, it adds a to-do item on my to-do list that says make a video, which I have on, haven't done yet for Billy, so it's still on my thing that says, hey, Billy, and I do a quick video for that person. It adds them to Captivate and says, hey, you're now, you can get the private podcast, and it adds them to Less Annoying CRM. And then by doing that, they're already added to Heartbeat, which is who I use for my courses and stuff. So
how do you spell that? How do you spell that?
What, Less Annoying CRM? Oh, Pabbly is
Pabbly.
Pabbly, and I'm not sure. According to my history, it's Pabbly.com. Yes, and of course they have a Black Friday deal. Do I have a Pabbly link? That's a good question.
Do you?
I'm looking, but so far it's because there's different levels. Like Zapier is kind of expensive. I do have a Pabbly link. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me throw this.
Wait for Dave's link and click on it when you
yeah.
When you go check it. It's the first time I've heard of Pabbly, so I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Well, I like the fact that it worked with Less Annoying CRM. So does Zapier, but it's one of those things where if you're going, because there's Make, there's like Zapier is the easiest and the most expensive. Pabbly is less expensive and still pretty easy, but it's got a little bit more of a learning curve. And then there's Make.com, which is for uber nerds who want to use the hooks and the APIs. And that's the whole point of Zapier, is you're using an API behind the scenes, but you're not having to write code. And so, yeah. And Jody says, you can get some of these for free. There's usually like, you get X amount of zaps or pabs or whatever they call them for free. And so if that's something like, hey, every time there's a new item on my RSS feed, tweet it out. You could do stuff like that if you wanted to automate your social posting and things like that. The downside of that is if you post at 2 a.m, so is your tweet. So, not a lot of people up. Well, unless they're on the other side of the planet. That whole
you can time it though. You can set timers on those. If this happens, then if this, then that is still around, so you can use that too. But,
that's true. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that one went quiet for a long time. But you could say if this condition is met, RSS feed in your case, then at 7 a.m. Tweet out this. The next day, tweet this out. Those are all very possible.
So, did we talk about the guy that was doing the text podcast last week?
No,
I saw this. Oh yeah, this I thought was interesting. He says, "Hey, has anyone tried doing a podcast in text format. I couldn't start a podcast, so I did this. Every Monday, I posted episode 1/10, so 1 of 10, as a text story about one topic, and then reply to my own post with deep dive comments like segments. People binge the comments like they binge episodes. Some even said, I read this like a podcast thread, long form, no audio. And I just thought to myself, without trying to be snarky, congratulations, you invented a blog. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, it's new. I'm like, it's
been a while.
It's been a while.
The Gen Zers don't know what blogs are. I mean, they've been gone a while.
Yeah, that's what Dan said. Right? A podcast and a text. Isn't that what we call a blog? Yes, that was me. But it's weird. We were talking about this today. I always love. Yeah, Craig says that sounds fake. Come on, somebody made that up. But it's interesting if you talk about like really popular animated shows. And I'll give credit. This was actually a radio guy brought this up. And people will go, oh, well, that's easy. South Park, The Simpsons, Family Guy, maybe Beavis and Butthead. And he goes, and nobody says the original. And he said, he goes, now I wasn't around for this, and neither was I. But the Flintstones, like when the Flintstones were on for real, that was like a primetime thing. That wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon. We all saw it in reruns. But they said the popularity of the Flintstones in its day was insane, to the point where we still occasionally will throw out like, oh man, he's the Barney of such and such, or he's the Betty, or the whatever. And the point the guy was trying to make is nobody remembers anything. It's like whatever's hot now, like eventually we're all going to die and no one will remember it. And I was like, well, this is an uplifting speech. Thanks, buddy. But so when we go like, dude, it's a blog, blogs were what, 95-ish?
Well, the good news is that, well, I mean, it's when the internet really got going, right? The good news is all the tools are out there. Like you don't need to reinvent anything. Or just put it on Reddit. Like that's kind of the style of Reddit, right? And so you can, as long as you don't get moderated out of there, right. You're that's the style that is there. So the good news is you've already found. There's lots of tools for you. It was interesting. I was chatting with a YouTuber, and I think I've said this, but I was chatting with a YouTuber who told me, she had a blog for a long time, right? A website. And she's like, yeah, I've pretty much given up on the website because the SEO, AIO stuff is so hard now. It's so terrible. Getting anybody to actually pick that, especially with the AIO stuff, they want to keep you, Google or OpenAI, they want to keep you there, right? So they're giving you the answers, not necessarily the links. And she's like, video is where it's at. And so there's, I wouldn't be surprised if we started polling podcasters and talked about hits to their show notes or their page or whatever that those could be
going
slowly
down.
dying. Yeah, slowly dying. I don't think they'll come back, just like to this post. Something will come back around, and all of a sudden, the written word will be will be the thing that everybody does. But
yeah, Jody says when I promote my show notes, it's my blog on my website. Yep, I always say to me, show notes are really all a podcast for me on a website. It's a blog post with a player on it. You know what I mean? And the blog is there to attract Google, and then the player's there as a free sample. And then hopefully somewhere in your show notes, it's like listen on Apple, listen on Spotify, and they go, well, I like that. And then you click on that and then follow the show. How do you come up in AI searches? Is there a strategy to that?
I know.
Jim has the answer. Do you need to get your nerd on for this?
Yeah, you might want to play it. You might.
Okay. Except now I got to find it. I was so excited, and I was like, oh wait, I just had. Here we go.
And now, he's been waiting for this. It's time for Jim to get his nerd on.
My favorite part. This might be a 2 nerd on show here, so you guys better buckle up.
Yeah, I know.
On the end of the week. So we don't know a lot about the way to trick a generative AI. They will, as time goes on, it's going to get better. There'll be more instructions on how to do this. Today, the common thought on how do you rank for AI, right, for the bots that are out searching, it's really a question and answer game right now. The AIs are favoring sites that have clear questions and clear answers. And why? Because they want to be the answer source for a lot of, right? They want to know this question was answered by this answer, right? So, and you want to get those as far up in your post as possible. Like it's reading, I think I read somewhere first 300 to 500 characters in determining if it should go farther. And if it doesn't, if it's garbage, it just moves on. So make sure you have as much relevant content. We used to try and bring that within the old SEO days. We tried to keyword stuff and jam as much in as we could, and you try to make it throughout the post, right? Now it seems the common wisdom is to push as much of that far up. And then I didn't see this one coming, but I guess what they're favoring as well is FAQs. So make sure you have a well-documented FAQ on your page. Now I use AI to make the FAQs for me out of the the site. So I'll put in my transcript, I'll put in some information we talked about, and I'll say, generate FAQs for me. And it'll generate those FAQs, and I tell it generate FAQs in a way that are AIO friendly. That's the terminology we're using now, AIO. And it just makes them for you, and you can post them in. So make sure make sure as much of your best content is towards the top. Make sure you're getting a question and answer format that's in there. Be helpful. It wants readable context. It's not, you just can't jam stuff in there anymore. It's looking for things that make sense in there. So write for humans, be helpful in what you're doing. Yeah. And but otherwise we don't know much more.
Yeah, it's and I'm not giving up on SEO. Because to me it seems like
you shouldn't.
The AI tools are basically, in some cases doing a search, and so consequently I'm trying to find it. Here we go. One of the things that Google wants is really what Jim just said, and that is the acronym is EAT, EEAT. And I'm looking in my show notes, and they're horrible because I didn't explain what EEAT. Oh, here it is. Experience. So, share a story about the time when you did this. Your expertise, your authoritativeness. So this is why this works, and this is why I know it's true. And then trustworthiness. So this is where I always laugh at the one blog post that said there was a discovery problem with podcasting going back to the 90s. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't exist yet. Steve Stewart, the one and only king of podcast editors. I posted about the Academy today on Reddit for you, my friend, because somebody was talking about how much to charge. But Steve says AI isn't measuring podcasts because it doesn't listen yet. It's all based on the same thing everybody else is using, text-based websites and stuff, or big data farms. Just as Jim said, yeah. So it's readable content and helpful content. I have this guru, Matt Diamante, from HeyTony. It's either .co or .ca. Really nice guy. I still don't know why his show is called Hey Tony and his name is Matt. I find that confusing. But he's got a lot of really. Here's a case where shorts led me to. And it's funny, I swear, like the last 2 months, his thing is he will start his shorts in doing something very weird. Like the one day he was in a grocery store talking to a banana. And his wife is like, Matt, what are you doing? And he's like, and he's talking into it was just weird stuff. But he showed this thing, and I was like, oh man. And you go to ChatGPT and you go, I want to write an article about, and then you put in blank, whatever your topic is. Ask me up to 10 questions for stories and examples or whatever you need to write an amazing blog post that will rank for SEO or whatever. And it does. And so it took me about an hour. Now I could have just written the blog in an hour, but nonetheless, I'm like, oh, here's an example here. Cause it asked me about gear. I said like starting a podcast for beginners. So it asked me about gear, it asked me about all this stuff, and I got done and went, brrr, and it went, and I was like, that's a pretty good article. And so that was one, because I'm always the guy that will say, I write my show notes as in by a human for humans. And so this looked a lot like it came from a human. And I was like, but it was interesting. And then I don't know where it got the questions from. That's the thing I think that kind of bugs me about AI is nobody really can officially say how it works. Besides, it does a really good job of guessing,
Not yet. It will get SEO was this way in the early days. Like, remember, friends, nobody used to know what Google was doing, and it was only Google we cared about, right? There was one player, and it was Google in the search space, and everybody was trying to figure out what they're doing, and then they became more and more transparent. Then they started offering classes, and then they started getting helpful. Then they started providing tools, and about the time everybody figured it out, AI came along, and
Right.
AIO now is like the new thing. And Google's playing some catch up on this. They're all of a sudden now. Let's be real clear. Like, Google search traffic still makes up like 68 or 70% of the space. So it's not like they're hurting. Go check their last quarterly revenue filing. They're not hurting, right? They're going to be okay. But it is starting. This is the way SEO started.
Right.
So it's going to take some time. It'll just take some time. First, we got to see who's going to be the AIO winner. Like, which of these, we couldn't get good SEO stuff until there was a winner. Then once there was a winner, everybody was like, started gravitating towards that. And they started providing the tools. So if history, repeats itself, we're in those early days of where everybody's trying to figure it out and game it. This is when we keyword stuffed stuff, and when we you would just do posts of words that would rank for something because everybody thought Google just did it by ranking. So keep trying though, and try different stuff. See what test it on your own site. See what works for you. Get some stats back from it. Try different stuff.
It's funny because Matt from HeyTony whatever it is, COCA, the SEO, he uses FAQs to, what it does is it adds lots of words to your website, which is what Google loves, good words, without making it, 14 scrolls later, I'm still not to the bottom of this page. Yeah. And so I saw that and was like, because you can't kind of do an expandable FAQ in Podpage right now. And so I went over, this is the dumbest named site, Elf, as in yes, buddy, the Elfsight.com. And I looked, and they do have an FAQ script. So you could go over, make your FAQ there, and then you just copy and paste a bit of code. I want to do this thing where they have the scrolling, those things, logos at the bottom of the page, except I want them to be artwork for the members of the School of Podcasting. I think that's kind of cool. But I think I pay, what is their pricing if I look at this? Yeah, I think I'm paying $3 a month because I use it for, if you go to akronpodcast.com/events, that's the events calendar. So that's another thing that, like, hey, not everybody needs an events calendar. So it's not built into Podpage, but you can see where, an acoustic Christmas with Over the Rhine is coming to the Kent stage December 5th. And April Wine and Molly Hatchet. Yeah. Get your mullet and get yourself over to the Kent stage.
The red wine.
So if you're looking like, how do I make an FAQ? Elfsight may be the way to go. And, keep that in mind. Speaking of elves and my favorite, helpers, it's time to think, Dave forgot to rewind. Shame on him, because I worked on this last night. I went over to Patreon to see like who was here, who wasn't, and I updated this next slide. So thank you to all these people who are supporting the show. We deeply appreciate it, and we realize it's Christmas time and money might be getting tight, and this is really dry. I told Jim before we started, I said, I really need to lose my PC, because remember earlier you said we're looking at trees and it has something to do with profiles or something, but I can never I have to switch profiles to look at Ecamm. And then when I go to the wheel of names, I got to switch back to my other profile. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But thanks to those folks. But the show is brought to you by the School of Podcasting. If you want to get your podcast going in the right direction. We had yesterday we're talking about events. Is it worth the money to go to something like Podfest or Podcast Movement? So you get the amazing community. You also get 5 hours of coaching every month with me, and then courses, and of which one I'm working on 2 now that the whole the whole Adillo video thing is behind me, because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to move a bunch of videos, but I'm working on a course on SEO, and I'm working on a course on RSS.com because they just added a free service. And normally I would not promote a free service, but RSS.com also, A, they're not bad people and they have a decent service, and B, they have a paid version, much like Red Circle. I'm just trying to get something that's not Spotify. So if somebody says, hey, I need a host that's free, I can say, all right, well, here's one that's, a good place to start. And right now, as we do this here in November, and I believe for the rest of the year, Podcast Hot Seat is doing a Black Friday deal, and that includes a month at the School of Podcasting. And he's not in the chat room today, but John Jamango was in the hot seat last night, in the Boomer Bunker, and he was kind of worried that I was going to rip him to shreds. And I was like, no, actually, most of it was high praise. There were a couple things, and he was like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. And so that's what we're always doing over there. And when you go to AskThePodcastCoach.com, that's Podpage. And if you want to try Podpage, well, then go to trypodpage.com. And the show, that guy right over there, the one and only Jim Collison, yeah, if you want more of him, then simply go over to, not that, because, Dave has to switch his profile again to get, oh, that's driving me nuts. Where did it go? Come here.
The trees are lovely, though.
They are nice, yes.
They
and
are
here's
lovely.
here's my text expander. Where is? I totally lost my Ecamm. That's so weird. And I'm clicking on it.
You have some GPT prompts that you saved that you just do automatically all the time. That's what it shows there, just for you.
All right, we'll go. Here we go. We got to go back to that. That's why, because Dave hit the wrong button. I was like, where? Okay, and which is hilarious, because now that I've come back, it's time to go back to my, this makes such great audio, and we're gonna go to the Wheel O Names, which is also updated. So will it be Craig from AI Goes to College, or Glenn over at the Horse Radio Network, or Chris at Cast Ahead, or Jody over there at Audio Branding? Well, we're going to click the shuffle button and click go, and it goes round and round and round. And, it might be, oh, so close. It is. The one and only. That's what you get. I guess maybe it's Karma. Craig from AI Goes to College, who did the awesome super chat thingy earlier. That's the technical term for it, the super chat thingy. Again, if you're into AI, check out AIGoesToCollege.com. He also has a Substack, so if you're more of a reader, you can do that as well. And so thanks to everyone on the fun-filled Wheel O Names. We deeply appreciate that. And if you find this show and you're like, this is a fun show, realize you don't have to be, the $20 supporter. We have plans starting at $5 a month. And of course, you get a huge shout out, and you get you get less advertising in the premium version of this. And if you're like, they do save us time, they do save us money. I've escaped a few headaches from this. They keep us educated. Then go over to askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome, and you can be an awesome supporter today. And with that, oh my gosh, 2 in 1 day.
Oh, he's been waiting for this.
I know.
It's time for Jim to get his nerd on.
This one was planned. I got sent. So I got a question. I got a comment and then a question for everybody in the chat room. So I got sent some EBL rechargeable batteries. These are nickel metal hydride batteries, and not new tech, by the way. Nickel metal hydride has been out a long time. It's probably the most popular form of battery for rechargeables. They're trying to run EBL. They're a brand. They're one of the popular brands. This is a AA battery for them. They're trying to make a big green run, right? Because truthfully, alkaline batteries, those are the Duracells and Energizers that you buy. Truthfully, they're cheaper, right? If you go buy battery for battery, you go buy those. One for one, Alkaline's 4 times cheaper than some of the rechargeables. These are about $1 and some change. I just bought 8. They're about $1 each. You can get an
Nice.
Alkaline for 25 cents for the really, really cheap ones. For the more expensive ones, those can get in the $1 each range as well. Talking about AA batteries. So, but over the life of a product, as an example, I have a smart faucet in my house that in the kitchen that uses 6 AA batteries.
Well, what is this? Let's pause it.
What's
What
a
is a smart faucet? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a temperature indicator on it. It will tell you how hot or cold the water is as it's running,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
you can also touch it. Now, it's not totally smart. Like they've gotten smarter ones now that tie into our A Lady or the G-Man device. Who you can say, "Hey, A Lady, turn on the faucet at 50 degrees," and it'll come on
Oh,
and it'll get
wow.
to that temperature, right? So there are some smart faucets like that. I wish it had come with a standard plug-in, but this came with a battery pack that takes 6 AA batteries. We use alkaline batteries for it. I replace them every other month. And you start thinking, that's, let's just say it's $6 every other month. That it's not the end of the world, but it's $50 a year. And I'm throwing a lot of these alkaline batteries into the trash, right? Or
Yeah.
I'm recycling them responsibly. There's no great way to do that, by the way, here in Nebraska. So I started thinking, do I switch over? Or do I start making the switch to go to completely rechargeable batteries? The hang up with this, with nickel metal hydride. And by the way, don't buy lithium batteries this size right now. They're still working. Like if you're like, oh, lithium's everything, like lithium ion. Yeah, it's in my car. No, don't buy them this size right now. They're still kind of working the bugs out at this size, because those batteries in your like in your charger stuff that are lithium ion, those are 3.7 volts, and we need 1.5 volt batteries like for this. And they haven't quite got to that size yet, right? So they're still working out the kinks on that. Okay. That being said, there's a lot of podcasting equipment that it's very sensitive when it comes to voltage,
Yeah.
right? And they're expecting, for most high-end equipment that were used for podcasters, sometimes like handheld microphones are this way. Dave, what are you showing?
I am showing the PodTrack P4, which can run on 3 AAA batteries. So that would be one for sure.
So the question I have for you, chat room, and if you want to interact with us on YouTube in the comments later, or if you want to send those comments in, Dave, what if they had comments?
Ask the podcastcoach.com/voicemail.
Voicemail. All right. If they got comments you want to send in, I'm kind of interested in, what are you using for your podcasting equipment? Now, I don't recommend you use many things with batteries when it comes to podcasting. I always try to plug everything I can in. That being said, I'm a huge hypocrite. My mouse is wireless. It's got
Me
one
too.
battery in it, right? It's got one battery. It's fine. But I'm always afraid it's going to run out of batteries right in the middle of a show. Although that's not like it used to be. I think you can recover from that. But kind of wondering, what are you using? Are you using alkaline? Are you finding any success with nickel metal hydride? The problem with nickel metal is it drops below that 1.5 volts not fast, but when it does, a lot of those devices just stop working. So where alkaline will hold between 1.6 and 1.5 pretty long, and then it drops off a cliff. A rechargeable nickel metal hydride, that it'll go 1.59, 1.6, and then it just slow decrease all the way to 1.2. Now, for a flashlight, that's fine. The flashlight just gets a little bit dimmer. But this is where, like a handheld microphone, or the P4 that you just showed, where this stuff kind of matters. So interested in hearing from you. What are you using? How do you do your batteries? What are you doing batteries with? What are you buying? What have you found successful? Those kinds of questions. Dave, you've got batteries there in that. What else? I mean, besides remotes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, remotes are another.
If I were to use this, instead of putting batteries in it, that's always kind of like my last resort. This can be powered by a power brick, like a USB power brick. So that's probably what I would use if I were going to power the P4 there. let's see. Dan says, I always get plugins or adapters, even for mirrorless cameras, because I don't want the one time my batteries die to be right in the middle of an interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My advice too. My advice
Chris
too.
says, I change the batteries with every recording. I know it drives me nuts with recharge. I tried the rechargeable thing and I used them, which came in handy when I woke up today. I have these little lights that are motion detectors. So when I get up to pee 500 times a night, it lights my hallway to the bath and in the bathroom. And so those are handy, but it just seems like I have to charge them. And granted, so far I've been able to recharge them multiple times, but I'm just like, is the hassle like, yeah, it's better for the environment and things like that too. But Craig says I always use an external brick battery with my Zoom H2. It eats through an internal battery rather quickly. Yeah, I've heard the Zoom, the P2, the P4. Stephanie says, where do you buy those batteries? I just use Duracell or Energizer, whatever's on sale. That's me. What kind of battery do you use? The ones that are on sale.
And even on sale for 50 cents each. When you're thinking long term, Amazon or any of those outlets will carry them. You may, even in a big box store, you may be able to find. Again, this is the brand EBL. They sent these to me. It's a popular brand. Envelope is another popular brand that's out there. You can, if you're going through them frequently, you can actually save money by spending a little bit more on nickel metal hydride. Those are the rechargeable ones. Then going alkaline, which are your Duracells and Energizers. And now if I've been doing a whole bunch of battery research on this as we've been talking about this. And one of the guys did a whole test on it, and the Kirkland brand, right? You know, the Kirkland brand, Dave, are you familiar? It's Costco.
There we go.
Kirkland brand is by far best value, according to this one podcaster that I watched. So that may be an option for you too, if you have to go alkaline. Let me tell you, there's a situation here that matters. So as we think about this, we always think about, you put batteries in a flashlight, and I use this flashlight all the time for stuff. I keep one on my desk because stuff falls underneath my desk, or I need to get behind the computers or whatever. So I always have a flashlight. I use these. They almost never die by themselves. They always die because I've used them too much. But we do have applications where you're putting things in batteries for an emergency, right? It's lights or stuff. It sits in a car, or it sits outside somewhere, or it sits in the house, and you might want good battery backup. This is where oftentimes alkaline is very, very poor because it leaks almost every single time you keep something somewhere. They're just leaky batteries. If you're using them up, and you're just, every couple of months you're swapping them out, you don't have a problem. But if they sit around for a while, they are not going to, they're most likely going to leak. They'll actually hold their charge pretty well, but they're probably going to leak on you in the process. So you need to be careful with that. And then you also want to know, with the battery technology getting better, the question is how long will that battery hold its charge to 80%? Let's just say that's kind of become a standard on this. Because some batteries, if they're made cheaply and you put them in a device and you go to grab that device a year later, if it can't hold its charge very long, then it's probably not going to do what you need it to do. The early days of rechargeables were terrible at this. This is one of those things they're getting better. They've really gotten better and better around it. So any other comments out there? On
Stephanie has a question. She says, okay, so you're saying switch to these EBL batteries. Do they have the little flat ones for security? And do you need a base to recharge them? So are these rechargeable?
These are rechargeable. You can buy them with the recharger. I got a recharger with these. These were sent to me by review. I just want I did buy 8 more of them from Amazon. They'll be here on Wednesday because I need a couple more to test in my under the sink. But often they come with a recharger. It's a good idea with rechargeables to get a recharger that goes with that brand. It's probably a good idea to stay with the brand that you're having there. These EBLs are just one brand. There's a couple else out there that are popular that do it. Check the reviews when you go there. The little flat batteries, right, are not rechargeable today. So if you're buying those, they have all kinds of different numbers. By the way, I remember, Dave, a day when there was just one little flat battery. There was one kind, and now there's like 1,000. Like, you
Yeah.
make sure you get the number right, because
Yeah.
they're either like stacked that high or they're super thin.
Yeah. And then you can't close the case because the battery's
no.
too fat. Yeah.
Yeah, and you end up breaking,
And
breaking the board or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well,
So, Stephanie, no, those are not rechargeable. You just buy those. They're meant for very long term. Those are 3-volt batteries, and they're meant for very long term. Like your computer, every computer has a battery in it. It's got a little, we call them CMOS batteries, but it's got a little battery in it. They're meant for very, very long term use in that, in that term. I've got some hygrometers that got those batteries in them. Those are not rechargeable. AA right now, AA, AAA batteries. You could do C's and D's. When was the last time you used a C battery or even a D battery, Dave?
C, and it's funny because I think I had 4. I use them once a year. I have some fake candles that flicker as a Christmas thing, and they use C batteries. Because I remember when I got it last year, I'm like, C battery? I'm like, what do I have? And I did. I had C batteries from like, I don't know, when Obama was in office or something like that, and they worked. But I bought some new ones because I went through those. And but other than that, and especially a D battery, I mean, you can take somebody out with a D battery. It's like, holy cow. But those used to be for big fat flashlights. And Dan is saying, hey, I've been curious about the USB-C rechargeable batteries for my off-camera flash trigger for photography. I actually have used those, and I didn't even know they existed because I don't want to give up on rechargeable batteries, but it just seems like I would get them, I would charge them, they'd be great. And then I would, they'd go through, they'd lose their stuff. I'd put them back in, and literally 25%, like 1 out of 4 will not recharge. And what's weird is I have then put it on the side and I shamed it. I'm like, shame on you for not doing your job. I will come back 6 months later and go to the pile of batteries that won't recharge and put them in, and 75% of ones that didn't recharge at all, they would just blink really flash, which means, hey, I'm not going to work anymore. And they would start working. And I was like, well, that's weird. But I did switch to the USB. It's cool. They just have this little USB-C thing, and you plug it into the wall. So far, they're great. They actually last, I think, a little longer. So far I like them. Rich is saying, hey, Duracell and Energizer also make rechargeables. And the fun fact of the day from one Mr. Christopher J. Nessie, Kirkland batteries are made by Energizer. They just don't have a bunny and cute commercials.
No, and in some of the tests that I've watched, the Kirkland batteries do significantly better than the Energizer batteries. So
interesting.
You got to kind of wonder, Costco's big and they put a lot of pressure. Maybe they get the best battery manufacturing from Energizer, and then Energizer just sells the cheap ones as their own brand. What Dan is talking about in a battery, there'd be a little USB-C right where my finger is right there. There'd be a little USB-C port that you could plug in, and you can charge the battery individually. That seems a little clunky to me. Like,
it's weird.
You can buy those 4, and then you get this USB plug that's got 4 things on it, right? And you're plugging them in, right? It seems a little clunky to me than just having a charging brick that you can put put the batteries in and just let it charge up. The one from EBL, the one they sent me, and if you're going to buy the EBL brand, they have one that's got a readout on the top, and it shows you the charge level, so you can actually put the batteries in if you want to see the charge level. And it's only 4 lights, so it's not like it gives you a percentage, but you could use it as a battery tester as well to see how much charge is in these, but it'll tell you when they're full. They say 2 years to 80%. So they say this battery will sit for 2 years, and it'll go down to 80% of its charge to be used. I put them in a lantern, those lanterns that you pull up and they turn on. Have you seen those LED lanterns?
I have not seen those.
Little black lantern. If you don't have them, I'd recommend it. You pull them
Keep
up.
Keep talking about your lamp for 10 seconds.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Dave's going to get show and tell on this one. So I put it in one of those lanterns. You pull it up. It's got probably 12 or 15 LED lights on 3 sides. You pull it up. Pretty efficient. Put these batteries in the other night. Ran it all night. Was still on in the morning when I came back in. Oh, let's say 24 hours later. It was still lit. It wasn't super bright, but it was still lit. So that's not a definitive test, but it is a good way. These did work for a while. What do you got for me, Dave?
Oh, since we're talking batteries, it's one of those things like it's the dumbest thing ever. But that's not it. I bought a battery organizer. It's double-sided.
Oh yeah.
And
I like that.
And it's got a
charger.
It's not a charger, but I can pull this out.
The tester.
It's a tester. And it's just one of those, and especially if you have a ton of double A's, and it holds the C. It's one of those things. I got this at we have a discount store. It's like Ollie's, I think is the name of it. And it was like, I don't know, normally $20 on sale for like $9. And I was like, I have the drawer in the kitchen that just has like everything. And I put it together and was like, oh, I just feel so relaxed now that I know exactly how many batteries I have. I can test them if they're good, et cetera, et cetera. I was looking for the USB-C charger, and that's probably in the junk drawer with the other batteries.
The finger one. Yeah. In Dan's case, Dan Lefebvre was saying he'd like to have that finger one to take on the road with him. It does pack a little bit better. And say you had 4 rechargeable USB-C batteries, you could literally think in your car, if you got USB, just plug that in, let the batteries recharge off the, it doesn't take much. There's these, the whole brick charged at 3 watts. When all 4 batteries plugged in was charged between 3 and 5 watts. And so you could carry a big one of those Anchor or whatever battery bricks, get that thing charged up if you're on the road, and then use that to kind of recharge your batteries as we go. Not a bad way to get that done. The charger I have is both USB-A and USB-C, which I was surprised they gave me both.
That's cool.
In this cutover, I think eventually the USB-A stuff will be gone. We'll all be USB-C on it. But that was a nice, and they make these chargers anywhere 4 to 8 batteries at a time.
Yeah. So. Craig says, does anyone else store their batteries in the refrigerator? I've never heard of this.
That used to be super common, that if you keep your batteries at a lower temperature, they would last longer. I don't know if that's true. This would be a good question to ask AI, Craig.
That's it. Go ask, the woman in the, I forget. Adam named his, I forget what he named his AI, but it was pretty funny.
I don't know if that gets you. I wouldn't with the new. I don't know if I would do that with rechargeables. I don't think they like to be cold.
Well, I know my phone, my iPhone does not like to be cold or hot.
No,
it likes it's
just right. It's a little
There's nothing worse than you're in the summer and you left your phone on the front seat and you go into something to Costco to buy some batteries and you come back out and your phone's like, I can't breathe. It's like, I will turn on when it cools down. So you turn on the air conditioner and put your phone in front of it so you can, because who can drive without a podcast going? I can't. So
for sure. Uncle Marv, a good correction. Yeah. He makes sure Kirkland batteries manufactured by Duracell, not Energizer.
Ooh, we might have a cage
I don't know
match
if it matters.
between.
I don't know if it matters, to be honest. Like in some of the tests that I've seen, those Kirkland batteries do pretty well. If you need, alkaline batteries, that's there are places for alkaline, and I just kind of wonder they're hard. They're one-time use, and yes, they're cheap, but they're one-time use. Yeah. And I'm a little bit of a tree hugger, so just a self-admitted tree hugger. And it's got me kind of thinking, especially with these batteries we use for the faucet, I was like, there's a better. I've been thinking about just converting that over to a plug. Then I got to buy an adapter and I got to rewire it in. I got to plug it in and step it down. All these other things that are going on. I was like, when EBL reached out to me, I was like, oh, sweet. I'm going to try these on the, on the faucet. And then Sarah was like, she buys a brick of, I don't know where all our AA batteries go.
Right.
But she buys a brick all the time. And I'm like, we could probably do better with some rechargeable batteries. They used to be terrible. They've gotten a lot better.
Yeah. Craig says the short answer is putting your batteries in the fridge sometimes, but usually it's not worth it. Modern NIMH, nickel
metal hydride. Metal hydride. Yeah.
Rechargeable batteries also don't need refrigeration. High quality, low self-discharge types like Eneloop which sounds like
That's
I
the
don't know.
other popular rechargeable brand
Yeah,
that you'd see on
hold their
Amazon.
charge well at room temperature. Here we go. We got another question from Todd the Gator. I got a tech question. The new iPhone 17 touts a liquid cooled chip. Is that a gimmick?
I
I've never heard of that.
I hadn't heard of that either. Is it a gimmick? No. Like, do we know
Yeah.
now? Like liquid cooling, it'd be interesting. I've not heard that yet. Typically, right, we do liquid cooled equipment in our PCs, right?
Yeah.
Some PCs that run very, very hot. I don't know of any Apple products that are currently using like my Mac 4 or my Mac Mini M4. It's not liquid cooled. Typically, those liquid cooling would go up to a fan and that fan would run, and it works like the radiator on your car, right? That's we've even seen some folks just submerge their PC in mineral oil. Yeah.
Wow.
And then it dissipates the heat that way. We're kind of getting away from super hot like chips like the Intel. Like Intel just kept getting bigger and faster and hotter. And with the ARM processes that are coming, ARM, with the ARM processes that are coming, those chips are a little bit smaller, a lot more efficient, and don't put off as much heat. And so they're just liquid cooling is kind of a very niche for people that have high temperatures going in their PCs. I don't think it would be on the phone.
Yeah, Rich says I'm really good at stealing batteries out of remotes.
That's why they never work, because we
Yeah.
steal the batteries.
Or
I need
it
for this
always
flashlight.
what gets me is I always see once you finally crack the code to get the remote open, that it's not the battery size you need. You're like, oh, these are AAA, I need AA, or vice versa or whatever.
Yeah.
And Craig says, hey, if I take the batteries out of the bridge, well, more room for beer. So
For sure.
Uncle Marv says,
or eggs.
says today has become the Home Gadget Geek show. Will next Thursday be Ask the Podcast Coach?
Maybe we'll just feed this into the Home Gadget Geeks feed. Feed takeover.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
That's going to turn into it. So thank you.
Well, who knew we loved batteries so much? Well, here, let me. If you're looking for more podcast related things, I found this morning, and I had subscribed to it. It's on Reddit, and I always go to the /podcasting Reddit where they talk about, you guessed it, podcasting. So I saw they had one called Our Podcast, and that's where they were talking about how they hate live shows. But what's interesting, and I just saw this morning, they're talking about like what are podcast deal breakers. They're talking about the content a lot. Or, hey, does anybody know a good ancient history podcast? Or how to hack Apple? That's interesting. And they're talking about different podcasts. So help finding an old movie podcast. Well, then I have to go here and go, my favorite is based on a true story podcast. It's part movie and part history show. It's amazing. I'm going to assume we can put based on a true. This is one of those where you should always read the rules before posting in an app, which I've not. Because they might have a rule like no URLs, but we'll find out. Maybe I'll get kicked out on my first post. But you might find out that people are over here, either A, chiming in on what makes a good show, but also something like that. And that's where, if you're not allowed to self-promote, that's where you get your friend or your fans to go, hey, can somebody go put my show over there? Because I'm not allowed to self-promote. So if you're bored later and want something to read, it's just people saying, hey, this is good. So maybe you send your audience over here to go, oh, man, I just loved the last episode of Home Gadget Geeks. They talked about batteries for 4 hours. So that would be,
I may do a battery show.
There you go, man.
Just talk about the batteries on there, maybe in January. I want to test them a little bit. You get stuff like that.
Dude, we all use batteries. It's a universal truth. So, let's see if we go over here. EQ settings. Yeah, we got 15 minutes. Here's a fun one. It says, hey, my friend and I started our podcast at the beginning of the year. That would be 10 months ago. or actually at this point, 11. I mean, we're almost done with November. We just recorded our 52nd episode, so good on you. That means you've done one a week. I'm the sole editor, and while I made a lot of progress, I know there's still plenty of room to improve our EQ. I've gone through a bunch of Reddit threads and YouTube tutorials, and I've landed on some settings that feel okay, but our mix still doesn't sound as polished as the professional podcast I listen to. I do really appreciate any advice or suggestions. And then he gave a sample recording, and he has a screenshot of, well, here, let's look at the screenshot. It's not really, it's just a screen. Oh, here, I see he put the screenshot in the Reddit. Go away. But he's talking about 20 hertz, 50 hertz, 120 hertz, like 120 hertz plus 10 decibel, minus 50 hertz. I don't know that the ear hears that. When you go below like 80, you're into frequencies that you more feel than you actually hear. And so I see where he's changing things 11%. For me, EQ is one of those things, it's a lot like salt and pepper. Like a little goes a long way, and you can really mess things up. I remember when I first got the DBX 286X, if I remember right, which is now built into the Rodecaster. And they had a thing called Big Bass or Big Bottom. And I just was like, oh, this is cool. I sound like I'm on the radio. And within like 2 episodes, somebody said, I don't know what you're doing, but you're rattling the tonsils out of my teeth. And so when you're playing with EQ, it is just pretend you're in the optometrist office and go better this way, better that way, better this way, better that way. But also when you make massive changes, unless the audio you have, like if you got something and the guy sounds like this and it's just all mid-range, okay, you can make a really big pull down on the mids and not probably make it sound horrible. But I've seen people mess up their audio worse than it was before they started playing with the EQ. And so, and then once you get it, like lock it in or take a shot of your knobs if you're using a mixer or something like that, or save it in, if you're using a Rodecaster, you can save your show settings and things like that. But I've just found in my own travels that just tweaking it a little bit, it will, or if you want to eventually get to, 11%, we'll start by going to 3, and then the next episode go another 3, and then the next episode go number 3. Uncle Mar says, I love big bass, and I cannot lie. Bass, yes.
Big bass. Yeah, bass.
And I cannot lie. Yeah. So, Jim, I mean, do you do any kind of post EQ to, like this show, I use a thing called because my Hindenburg's not open, Shep's Omni channel. It's from Waves, which by the way has a Black Friday deal going on, as does everybody at this point. I'm pretty sure, you could go to, I don't know, Roy's House of Smelt and he'd have a Black Friday deal going on. But if I go to and I'll share my screen here in a second, or maybe I won't. Right now I'm looking at the famed Mac, what do you call that? The beach ball. Yeah, here we go. This is the Shep's Omni channel. It is a compressor, a gate, a noise gate, a de-esser, which comes in really handy, and then an EQ. And you can see where most of these, like, it's just a little bit of a touch here or there. I don't really go crazy with it. And that's one of my favorite kind of plugins. The thing at the end is great if you want to sound like 9 Inch Nails and your voice is all distorted. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to use that. And then my other favorite plugin is from Waves, and it's called WLM, and don't ask me what that stands for, Waves something. But I love the fact it's basically a kind of something you put at the end. I always have this on the master track of Hindenburg, and I love the fact that it has a podcast loudness limiter. And so basically it automatically puts things at minus 14, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't use it in a way that I give it something way too loud, so it has to work really hard to squish it down. And like it's in the vicinity when I send it to it. But I do that because I use dynamic content, and I don't want my ad to come on and all of a sudden like, and we'll be back to the School of Podcasting right after this, and then the ad comes on. It's like, Did you like you can't hear it, it's not loud enough, or it blows your head off. So I use that tool for that feature. So, but I think if I remember right, Jim, you use Audacity, right? So do you do any fun tweaking
No,
in
I
No?
don't anymore.
Oh
No,
man,
I
what'd you
let
move to?
Auphonic. I just let Auphonic so I record it and restream, bring it down, mix it with iMovie because that's just the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Pull it out, run it through Auphonic, let it do its thing, fixes it up the best. Then I produce it. I don't mess with my sound levels anymore or the tone for the most part. So sounds good to me. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah. Because we can't have enough battery talk. This is a good one. And this is what I was like. I know it's a podcast show. We're talking about batteries, but I come into this all the time. Rich says, look, is it worth changing the battery out in your UPS when it goes bad and starts beeping like crazy? I always just got a new one. I've done both, and I can't remember if it was worth the hassle. I just remember just finding the battery was kind of a hassle.
Yeah, Batteries Plus is a good source for that. You're going to pay full price. You can find those on Amazon or eBay. Oftentimes, at a lower cost. But just remember, 90% of the price of that UPS, has a little circuit board in it with a few chips. That's super cheap. Then it has plastic around it. Almost all of the cost is the battery.
Yeah.
So you'll basically get if you get a new battery, you're basically getting a brand new UPS. Probably if you like that style, if it's been good for you, those circuit boards, I've had them last 10 or 15 years. So will they last for you? Yeah. It's about a wash, right? Depending on where you buy the battery, it's kind of a wash in price. Buy a new one. That's not bad. You just make sure you dispose of the old one properly, turn it in for recycle or whatever, or replace those batteries. That's an easy thing. It's a screw, pop the door, slides out, new battery slides in. Those are still lead acid batteries, right? This is the oldest battery technology we have. It's not bad. It's just doesn't last very long. It lasts a long time on a charge, right? But it's kind of outdated. My preference has been I've switched over to lithium ion and all these solar generators is kind of what they're calling them, but they're really just battery backups. The Jackery or the Blue Eddy or the EcoFlow or, fill in the blank, right? There's a whole bunch of these companies that are out there. Now, are they more expensive? Yes. They're probably twice as much as your UPS backup. Will they last longer? For sure. Like we're talking at least 10 years, 5 years to 80%. Then you can probably get another 5 years out of that as well. So I've been switching over all of my UPS. I have a Blue Eddy and an EcoFlow. My Blue Eddy's a couple years old. EcoFlow I bought early this year. I've had great success with them. They'll last, depending on your load, they can last an hour instead of the 7 minutes that you get currently or 10 minutes that you get. You can get up to an hour on those. Pretty nice.
I remember I swapped
too, if you want.
Yeah, I swapped one out, and it's not hard. Like you just take the screws out of the back and unplug it, and then plug the new one in and put it back in. And I just remember I came across one, and it was like $7 more to just buy a new one. And I was like, I'm just going to buy the new. So what I've done, this is now one of those, I think I have two in my basement. They're like, oh, I'm going to keep these and then I'll just buy a new battery and then I'll have spares. And so far, that has not happened. That's on that list of things to do when you get some free time. And I just need to do that. Working Cows, man, I haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you. Auphonic is still great, but the new output obviously AI generated, or is it just me? It seems to come out a little garbled like AI videos. So I'm assuming you're talking about their, what do you call it? And ah removal. I use that via Buzzsprout on this show. And so I haven't noticed anything yet that in terms of like, wow, that sounded really like a horrible edit. But have you heard anything, Jim? Are you using the?
I haven't. I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't use
it's really weird to let AI handle your editing, and because it's like, because I don't, especially with Auphonic, it's not like you can. I mean, you can go back, but you have to do the whole thing again. Like you can't say, oh, fix that one there. Right. Whereas if I was doing that in Descript or something. So that would be this. And then another fun question. We surprised this didn't come up, but we kind of did a little bit. Did anyone grab any great deals this week? This is from Chris at castahead.net. Got a new Neewer, I believe is how you pronounce this. I used to call them Newer, but it's
I think, yeah.
Neewer teleprompter.
I think everybody says newer.
Yeah, because that's what it looks like. It's this weird thing. And so what did I buy? I bought a WordPress plugin called Whisper Link or something like that. And what it does is, again, I'm kind of getting more into SEOs. It looks for other posts you've done and says, hey, this is on the same subject. These two should link to each other. Other than that, I don't know. I bought a snowblower, but I mean, that's not podcasting related.
You want to come over? I need some snowblowing after the show here. Daniel, don't forget, Daniel puts out a list too of podcast related items. It's on his website, I think, that you can go to.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I found this out and I find it like, have you ever had something you're like, wait, that's not included? I love Heartbeat for, courses and community. That's what the primary back end of the School of Podcasting. And I can, Stephanie says, I bought Justin Moore's sponsorship class. It was $27. Yeah, I like Justin a lot. But I found it because Chris was really nice. He's like, here are all these deals. And he was nice enough. He goes, I'm not putting affiliate links so Dave can put his in later. And I can't edit. Like if somebody went in there and said, Dave's a big poopy butt, I don't believe I could edit that post. And I went to Heartbeat and I go, am I missing something? I'm the admin. Like I can ban the person and I could probably delete the post, but I can't edit the post. And I was like, well, that's kind of odd. So I have gone over and it is the number 2 thing. And they have a one of those things where you can vote on the next feature. And hey, can I edit the post is number 2. He said, not editing with Auphonic. It's just the leveler EQ. Okay, I moved to a new laptop and I lost my license for the desktop app. Yeah, doesn't that suck? I miss the desktop app. It's one of the reasons why I still have this.
But it's kind of deprecated, right? I mean, they haven't done any development on that desktop app.
No, it's kind of like, well, they dawned on it. Like, hey, people could use this forever.
For sure.
And it's one of those like lifetime deals. And I even paid more because it's dirt cheap if you're not a business. And then it was like a little more expensive. And so I even bought the more expensive version. But I used that thing for like 5 years, if not more. And if you think about it, because now I just don't use it. I have plugins that do basically what it does. But if I was paying them, 5 years times whatever it is, $9-10 a month or something, that's $120 a year times 5, it's like, all right, that's $600. And instead I paid them like $90 for the desktop app. So it's a better business model. And of course, as soon as they add AI to that, your price is going up because that's just the way AI works. So keep that in mind. But Jim, what is coming up on theaverageguy.tv?
We went the whole show. We went the whole show and didn't talk about AI at all. That's kind of crazy, right?
That is crazy.
I mean, not it was mentioned, but anyway. Right. Let's see. Home Gadget Geeks. I had my daughter on last night, Sammy. She always joins me for the Friday after Thanksgiving. Kind of gives an update on what's going on and the tech she's using and everything that's going on in her life. And so that is available right now. I'll throw the link in the show notes. It's one of my favorite ones to do because it's my daughter. Yeah. So check it out. She's a really good podcaster too, by the way. So check it out, homegadgetgeeks.com.
Well, and if I remember right, didn't her podcast help her land a job? Something like that?
I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. On the School of Podcasting, because Dave forgot that last week was the last. I thought there was a 31st or something in November, and there's not, I think, or whatever. I didn't know that. Wait, yes, Monday will be December. And long story short, we will be doing the question of the month, which should have been last week because it was the last week. It was the last Monday of the month in November. Yeah.
It's fine.
And so, yeah, that's one of those, like, I didn't see anybody at my back door going, hey, where's the question of the month, man? I turned it in on time. what's going on? So that's what's coming up this week. And then following that, I'm already working on the next one, which will be kind of because of my podcast story, but I had a few people where I always say podcasts lead to relationships, relationships lead to opportunities, which lead to more relationships, which lead to more. And I had two people I ran into. I'm like, hey, can I talk to you about that? So, but thanks to everybody for coming out today. Thank you for the heat, Christmas miracle. And we will see you next week with another episode of Ask the Podcast Coach.